Обращение к Красной Армии.
Lenin's address to the Red Army. Comrades, Red Army soldiers, the capitalists of England, America, and France are waging war against Russia. They are taking revenge on the Soviet Workers' and Peasants' Republic for overthrowing the power of landlords and capitalists and setting an example for all the peoples of the world. The capitalists of England, France, and America are aiding Russian landlords with money and military supplies, who are sending troops from Siberia, Estonia, and the North Caucasus against Soviet power, seeking to restore the rule of the Tsar, the landlords, and the capitalists. No, this shall not be. The Red Army has united, risen up, driven the landlords' forces and White Guard officers away from the Volga, retaken Riga, reclaimed almost all of Ukraine, and is advancing toward Odessa and Rostov. A little more effort, a few more months of struggle against the enemy, and victory will be ours. The Red Army is strong because it consciously and unanimously goes into battle for the peasants' land, for the power of workers and peasants, for Soviet authority. The Red Army is invincible because it has united millions of working peasants with workers who have now learned to fight, learned comradeship and discipline, who do not lose spirit, who grow stronger after minor defeats, and advance more and more boldly against the enemy, knowing his complete defeat is near. Comrades, Red Army soldiers, the alliance of workers and peasants in the Red Army is strong, close, and unbreakable. The kulaks and very wealthy peasants attempt to organize uprisings against Soviet power, but they are an insignificant minority. Only rarely and briefly do they succeed in deceiving the peasants. The peasants know that only in alliance with the workers can they defeat the landlords. Sometimes, in the countryside, the worst enemies of the working people, oppressors who cling to power for selfish ends and act through deception, call themselves communists. They permit injustice and abuse against the middle peasants. The Soviet Workers' and Peasants' government has resolved to fight such people and to cleanse the countryside of them. The middle peasant is not an enemy, but a friend of the worker, a friend of Soviet power. Conscious workers and true Soviet people treat the middle peasant as a comrade. The middle peasant does not exploit others' labor, does not enrich himself at others' expense like the kulak. The middle peasant works himself and lives by his own labor. Soviet power will suppress the kulaks, cleanse the countryside of those who treat the middle peasants unjustly, and will at all costs establish an alliance of workers with all working peasants, both the poorer and the middle. This alliance is growing throughout the world. Revolution is approaching, rising everywhere. Recently, it triumphed in Hungary. Soviet power has been established in Hungary, a workers' government. All nations will inevitably come to this. Comrades, Red Army soldiers, stand firm, steadfast, united. Boldly advance against the enemy. Victory will be ours. The power of landlords and capitalists will be destroyed. The defeated enemies will be overcome throughout the world.
Этот союз растет во всем мире.